Good evening and welcome to NTD News. I'm Stephania Cox. Here are today's top stories. A Florida-based software firm is the latest victim of a ransomware attack. Hackers are demanding $70 million and 36,000 companies might be impacted. More bodies are found in the tragic condo collapse in Florida. The search is back on after a controlled demolition, and an engineer shares his assessment of the building's construction. Texas and 21 other states are asking the Supreme Court to uphold Hawaiians' Second Amendment rights to bear arms outside their homes. A congressman says military servicemen will consider quitting the military if COVID vaccines are mandated. A new report says that may just happen. Americans are celebrating the 4th of July across the nation, including in Walmart. A group of Texas shoppers show their love for the country by joining together and singing the Star-Spangled Banner mid-shop. A new ransomware attack is impacting 200 companies and potentially tens of thousands of customers across the globe. President Biden says there will be consequences if Russia is behind it.
Florida-based software firm Kaseya reported a ransomware attack on its systems Friday. The firm sent an urgent alert to its customers to immediately take action to protect themselves from the attack. They warned customers not to click on any links from the hackers because they may initiate more damage. President Joe Biden says he isn't sure if Russia is behind the attack.
Because we're not certain. The initial thinking was it was not the Russian government, but we're not sure yet. So.
He says there will be consequences if they determine that Russia is responsible. Fred Vacola is the CEO of Kaseya. He says the attack didn't only affect small businesses.
This is scary. I mean, it's not like these people aren't making $20 million a year. Not that there's anything wrong with people who make $20 million a year.
He says if we don't stop cyber attacks, they could cripple our society.
As long as we want to keep a modern society, I'm not being dramatic. I mean, if we want to keep electricity running, if we want to keep people want to be able to use Amazon, all that kind of stuff. This is the new world.
In an email to the Epoch Times, Kaseya says they were able to limit the scope of the attack. The full impact of the attack hasn't been determined yet. Security firm Huntress estimates that around 200 companies have been compromised with ransomware. CNET says that at least 36,000 companies are indirectly impacted. Hackers posted a message on the dark web demanding $70 million. Experts say they expect it will be one of the worst cyber attacks yet.
And this just in, the hackers have lowered their asking price in a private conversation with a cybersecurity expert. One of the gang's affiliates told Jack Cable of the cybersecurity-focused Krebs Stamos group that he could sell a universal decryptor for all the victims for $50 million. But when Reuters communicated with the group using the same method as Cable, the outlet was told the price was unchanged at $70 million, but that they're always ready to negotiate. And search and rescue efforts continue today at the condo that collapsed near Miami. That's after the rest of the building was demolished over the weekend. Sadly, the confirmed death toll continues to climb, and a structural engineer says there may have been a flaw in the building's construction. NTD's Kevin Hogan has more.
3 more bodies have been recovered from the collapsed condominium building in Surfside, Florida. This as teams continue their search for the 118 people still unaccounted for. That's according to the mayor of Miami-Dade County, Daniela Levine Cava.
Please join me in praying for those who lost their lives, the families who mourn, and for all of those who are still waiting.
The remaining portion of the residential complex was brought down via controlled demolition on Sunday night. Mayor Cava said the demolition was not a decision she made lightly and that it was critical to expanding the scope of the search. Before the demolition, residents were concerned about pets left behind as they were not allowed to go back in. But Cava says fire teams took great risks to set traps to retrieve animals and conducted thorough searches.
In the days since the collapse, the Miami-Dade Fire Rescue team conducted multiple full sweeps of the building in person, including searching in closets and under beds and other hiding places.
The town of Surfside hired a forensic engineer to investigate the collapse. He told the New York Times the amount of steel used to connect slabs below the parking deck to vertical columns might have been less than what the designs called for. He also said the piles of debris from both the initial and second controlled collapse are incredibly dangerous for crews.
There's no longer a building that can fall on them, but there's all this debris that is nominally unstable. It's set its own stability temporarily, but it can always give way a little bit underneath their feet.
A spokesman for the Miami Fire Rescue said they are working to bring closure to the families who are still waiting to hear the news about their missing loved ones.
We're obviously hopeful that there are some void spaces in there that may have been a refuge area, but we're just uncertain because you never could determine the demographics of the collapse when it does happen, even though all is pancaked together.
What's more, officials are sending out a warning about false charity sites being set up, trying to profit off the tragedy. Watch out for fraudulent GoFundMe accounts and don't give out personal information in response to a request you don't expect. Kevin Hogan, NTD News.
Tropical storm Elsa hit the southern coast of Cuba today, bringing heavy rain and flooding to the country. The storm is expected to move through Cuba tonight and then head towards Florida. NTD's Jason Perry has the details.
Yesterday, Cuban officials evacuated 180,000 people ahead of the storm. Elsa already battered several Caribbean islands and killed at least 3 people as a hurricane. Now it's demoted to tropical storm with sustained winds of around 60 miles per hour, and it continues to weaken slightly. The tropical storm is expected to continue northward past Cuba on Monday night and travel towards Florida at about 14 miles per hour. Depending on what direction the storm takes after Cuba, it could possibly hit Florida on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. It is expected to not hit the Florida Keys directly. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said a tropical storm watch and a storm surge watch are in effect for portions of the west coast of Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis declared a state of emergency in 15 counties, including in Miami-Dade County, where a high-rise condominium building was recently demolished. The storm is expected to weaken to a tropical depression on Wednesday evening, bringing rain to the east coast of the United States. Authorities say to make sure to check all weather forecasts in your area and to pay attention to the local emergency managers. They know your area best, and they will order evacuations based on what's happening in your county. Jason Perry, NTD News, New York.
Texas joined 21 other states asking the Supreme Court to uphold Hawaiians' Second Amendment rights to bear arms outside their homes. This effort was led by the Attorneys General of Louisiana, Arizona, and Montana.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, a Republican, confirmed last week that his state is joining the amicus brief. Paxton stated the blatant misinterpretation of the Second Amendment by the Ninth Circuit must be remedied. We are asking for the court to simply uphold the Second Amendment as it is written. The ruling of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals last year was in favor of Hawaii's law. It bans residents from carrying firearms outside their homes. Texas and 21 other states filed an amicus brief with the High Court. They argue that the residents' Second Amendment rights include using guns outside their homes. The states wrote in their brief, one of the highest responsibilities of a state is to safeguard the rights of its citizens, including the right to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment. These states are also trying to help resolve a split among the Federal Circuit Courts of Appeal. Several of the courts ruled against the 2008 District of Columbia v. Heller case, a landmark gun rights ruling. They said the lower court's inconsistent decisions have also prevented citizens from amici states from carrying firearms across state lines.
Rumors about a vaccine mandate has some military members saying they'll quit if this turns out to be true. NTD's Miguel Moreno has more on that.
Small pinch, 1, 2, 3.
Right now, getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is voluntary in the Army. But according to a report by Army Times, they may soon require everyone to get the shot. A military document obtained by the media says, prepare for a directive to mandate COVID-19 vaccination for service members on or around September 1st, pending full FDA licensure. On Twitter, Republican Congressman Thomas Massie said members of voluntary military say they will quit if the vaccine is mandated. He didn't say how many told him this or how they would quit. You can't leave the Army unless you've fulfilled your contract, are honorably or dishonorably discharged, or get punished for leaving without permission. In that last scenario, you could even face jail time. Massie has proposed a bill that would ban vaccine mandates for COVID in the military. A U.S. Army spokesperson told the Army Times that they're ready to mandate the vaccine if the Pentagon orders it done. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
Shoppers at a Walmart in Texas broke out in song over the 4th of July weekend, singing none other than the Star-Spangled Banner. The patriotic scene went viral. Here are the details.
Hands over hearts. Men, women, and children in a Haslett, Texas Walmart took a break from their shopping to join in singing the national anthem. The patriotic scene, complete with American flags overhead, came about when one shopper started singing and set off a chain of reaction as other shoppers joined in. The scene was captured on video and posted to social media, the caption reading, "God bless Texas and God bless the USA." The clip was widely shared over 4th of July weekend and has been viewed over 1.1 million times. One person commented, "Proof there is still hope for our great country. Happy 4th of July, America, and to all proud Americans." After the patriotic sing-along, the store erupted in applause. Grace Coulter, NTD News.
If you want a good history lesson in American freedom, Philadelphia is the place to start. NTD's Miguel Moreno gives us a look into how the city celebrated Independence Day.
There he is, Benjamin Franklin, the sage of Philadelphia, in Philadelphia, where he and other founding fathers adopted the Declaration of Independence. What a wonderful Philadelphians got together to celebrate July 4th right outside Independence Hall. The First Lady even paid them a visit, saying this post-pandemic holiday feels like the revolution it celebrates.
We got through this together. We grieved and struggled together. We are healing together. And today, America is back together.
A veteran told us that passing by Independence Hall brings out the patriot in him.
We are very proud of our country, and when we go by there, I always get a little emotional feeling because our whole country started right here.
And we generally meet at Independence Hall on Independence Day every year.
Scott Watson says he's a member of Sons of the Revolution, a hereditary society that says it educates the public on the American Revolution. Having a hereditary membership means Watson's family participated in that revolution. Part of their job is to preserve history, not tear it down like some statues are today.
To take today's standards and tear down the history of this country, I think is an abomination to this country. This country was founded on strong principles, and those principles have shown through no matter what, and through difficult times and through good times. And now in these good times, we should not go back and demean the founders of our country who really put everything they had into founding this country.
And the founders of this country didn't take history lightly. Thomas Jefferson, the main author of the Declaration of Independence, once said, "The people are the ultimate guardians of their own liberty. History, by informing them of the past, will enable them to judge of the future." Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
And after the lockdown of 2020, a suburb of Chicago resumes the July 4th Independence Day Parade.
Wheaton, Illinois is one of Chicago's southwestern suburbs. On July 4th, residents line up along Main Street to watch the Independence Day Parade. And the theme of the parade is celebrating our freedom.
Think about our freedom. We were able to go to church today, worship Jesus in pure freedom. We welcome all.
The MC of the parade tells NTD that after the pandemic, the parade brings life to this idyllic town.
The pandemic had just crazy impact on businesses. So this parade is sort of the culmination of that. It brings out families, it brings out the business community. Some of them will be in the parade.
David Loyalcano and his family have been with this parade for over 30 years.
My brother was the MC for 20-some years, and then he passed, and I did it for 10, 11 years. But the community spirit for the parade is phenomenal. We have families that come and set up on the street. Family reunion for a number of families. Families been doing that for over 30 years.
The parade has over 50 participant groups, including the police and fire departments, various bands, churches, businesses, clubs, politicians, etc. The Mid-USA Falun Dafa Association was also among the participants, which was a refreshing change to many spectators.
It was interesting because I'd never seen that before. I mean, I've done Tai Chi, but it's just interesting to see, to learn about something I didn't know. And so they just seem very joyful.
The Chinese float was beautiful. Everybody's smiling. It's great to be an American. Everybody was smiling. I love to see it.
Residents hope that the parade will be back to full scale next year.
It was sad last year, but everything was shut down last year. This year it's nice to be back, but it's still not quite the same because they had to shorten the parade route because of the construction in downtown. But next year we'll be back to the full route.
As more cities like Wheaton continue to open up, people have realized that freedom they are regaining and realize that freedom is something worth celebrating. What a better way to do that than with a good parade?
Patriotism and festivity filled the air in California this weekend. NTD's David Lamb spoke to some of those who celebrated.
This is one of the many 4th of July parades in California, and residents are happy and excited to be back out here celebrating Independence Day. What do you think the importance of Independence Day is?
It's really just the freedom and being able to celebrate it all together.
One of our favorite parts of it, just local community of all cultures and diversities.
We're excited to celebrate the barbecues with the families, America's independence, fireworks, in the community.
Celebrating the fact of all the freedoms that sometimes we take for granted here.
On July 4th, 1776, the 13 American colonies signed the Declaration of Independence, separating from England. This eventually led to the formation of the United States.
Well, I'm here for the 4th of July parade to celebrate American independence from the British colonies back in 1776. This is the birth of the American nation.
It feels really good. It feels good to see people without their masks. It feels good to be able to be out with my kids and celebrating. And do you want to say anything?
Hey, happy 4th of July. I love the parade.
Dogs, donkeys, and horses also participate, and some even put on a show. Americans take the streets of Morgan Hill, Huntington Beach, and San Diego, donning the U.S. flag.
Last year we were unable to enjoy the freedom of being here because of COVID-19, and this year for sure brings back a sense of normalcy.
And we just look forward to the parade and many people that are thinking like us that enjoy American heritage.
It's just great to get back to having an event where we can be together, we can celebrate together safely, responsibly.
Independence Day has been a federal holiday in the U.S. since 1941. Its tradition dates back to the 18th century. This year, it's observed on Monday, July 5th.
I am the daughter of a man in the Navy, and the sister of a man in the Navy, and the mother of a girl in the Army, and the mother of a boy in the Army, and my son-in-law is in the Navy. My favorite color is red, white, and blue.
And we are celebrating 4th of July, America's birthday, and I'm just grateful.
Thrilled to death. It was a little hard to get a spot because normally we have to reserve.
It brings everyone together. We remember the people that have died for our freedom.
Although many dozens of floats and marching bands came from various groups, they all share one thing in common: appreciating the country and spreading positivity. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
And thousands of miles east in the Big Apple, NTD's Arian Pazdar went out to find out how many people actually know why we celebrate the 4th of July.
The United States of America celebrated the 4th of July yesterday. And just like in any other city, New Yorkers were having barbecues, enjoying fireworks, all with their family and friends, amazing times. But do they actually know why they were celebrating? What does the 4th of July mean to you?
My birthday.
Celebrating the military.
I don't know. We're not.
Do you know? What do you know about the 4th of July? Why do Americans celebrate it?
The Declaration of Independence was signed.
And why was that important to sign the Declaration of Independence?
We wanted our freedom and we got it. They got us freedom from Russia, right?
It's not like no one knows what happened on the 4th of July 1776 when the US was born. Some people do have an idea.
America got their freedom.
The 13 colonies of the not yet United States declared their independence from the colonizer Great Britain.
Yeah, that's correct. And so why was that important at that time to become independent?
Well, because they were angry that the British were taxing them and weren't allowing them to have representation.
We didn't want to have the tariffs, etc., that they were imposing upon us. We wanted to be independent, as you do, I'm sure.
Of course. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
And Macy's famous 4th of July fireworks spectacle shined brightly over Manhattan last night. New Yorkers anxiously gathered to catch a glimpse of the vibrant colors after a year like no other. NTD's Arian Pazdar has the story.
This year's 4th of July in New York City, fireworks may have looked brighter, hot dogs tasted juicier, and marching bands sounded jauntier. That's after lockdown orders forced the cancellation of nearly all celebrations last year. New Yorkers from different parts of the city flocked to the river on the Queens and Brooklyn side for a view of the Manhattan skyline and its magnificent fireworks. After the event, police had to limit the number of people entering subway stations in order to avoid dangerous overcrowding. As Americans emerge from the pandemic, this year's Independence Day holiday marked a time for them to show their love for living in a free country and celebrate a personal sense of freedom by mingling with friends again and enjoying summer's simple pleasures. Arian Pazdar, NTD News, New York.
And in the nation's capital, fireworks lit up the sky over the National Mall Sunday night, attracting tourists and locals alike. The D.C. Metro says it saw the highest ridership in the region this holiday weekend since the pandemic hit.
Over 210,000 trips were made on the D.C. Metro Rail on July 4th, marking the highest single-day ridership since the pandemic began. It signals the reopening of the nation's capital. Thousands packed the National Mall to watch the Independence Day fireworks, and many of them took public transportation.
Last year, well, it was in the pandemic, so we were all home and sad. So this is like the first time really experiencing like 4th of July in America.
Yet the number of riders is just around half of the same day in 2019. In general, D.C. Metro ridership dropped by 85% since the start of the pandemic. The transit agency is set to provide riders with more incentives later this summer, including additional trains, longer hours, and a flat fare on weekends. Lin Lin, NTD News.
Coming up, one commissioner from the city of Anaheim, California, was removed by city council members because he was vocal about not wanting a sister city relationship with Pudong, China. And the largest teachers union in the United States votes to boost support for critical race theory. The union describes the theory as both reasonable and appropriate for school curricula. Find out more here on NTD News. One city official from Southern California has been removed from the council. He claims that the Chinese regime is responsible for the pandemic. He also opposed a sister city agreement with China. NTD reporter Brandon Dre has more on the story.
Earlier this year, the Anaheim City Council voted unanimously to remove Larry Larson from the Sister City Commission.
And tonight,
Mr. Larson, I'm sorry.
Yes, I understand. Tonight there's going to be a kangaroo court and a lynch mob, and they're going to destroy me and my reputation, kick me off sister cities, which you voted to put me on because I said China virus.
We have a city council to now vote on the motion, which is voted to consider removal of Larry Larson from the sister city. There's a motion and a second.
Anaheim is part of Sister Cities International, a nonprofit that bridges U.S. cities with others around the world. The commission recently considered adding Pudong, a district in Shanghai, China, to the list of partnering cities. Both Anaheim and Pudong are home to Disney amusement parks. But Larson challenged the idea after the virus harmed both children's education and local tourism during the pandemic.
Anaheim has suffered greatly. And it would be kind of like, you know, your next door neighbor burned down your house, and after you rebuilt, you invite him over for the housewarming barbecue.
Larson says his opposition to the Pudong partnership and controversial comments about the virus influenced the council's decision.
The political pressure was put on them. I was an easy sacrificial lamb.
He says he received no explanation or due process for his removal.
And I can't help but think that this was directed by people beyond the city council, who is controlled pretty much everything they do by Disney Corp.
Now, I reached out to the city of Anaheim for comment. They did not respond to the request. In Los Angeles, Brandon Dre, NTD News.
The largest teachers union in the U.S. votes to promote critical race theory, describing it as a reasonable and appropriate framework for students to understand America's past and present. Here are the details.
The National Education Association, or NEA, is furthering its support of critical race theory. It recently passed a resolution committing over $120,000 to advance its support for the theory known as CRT. Making up the largest U.S. teachers union, the organization vows to oppose attempts to ban the highly controversial 1619 Project. It claims the United States was founded on a racist nation. The new business item on its website calls it reasonable and appropriate for curriculum to be informed by critical race theory. Prior to the vote, the union approved another measure, this one seeking to research anti-CRT organizations. According to the NEA's website, the reason behind the measure is increasing opposition from organizations like the Heritage Foundation. The Washington-based conservative think tank hosts vocal opponents of CRT, including author and filmmaker Christopher Rufo. He's written extensively to expose CRT's Marxist origins, saying it undermines the foundations of American society and has infiltrated schools, businesses, and government agencies. He posted on Twitter that we were born for this fight and will show no mercy to the corrupt ideologues who are ruining American education.
Coming up, an Asian industry group that includes Facebook, Twitter, and Google warns that privacy law changes may force tech firms to leave Hong Kong. This comes on the one-year anniversary of the Hong Kong national security law. And an executive of China's space firm brutally attacked two aerospace scientists, hospitalizing both. The executive resumed normal work after the assault until the scandal was recently exposed. More in just a moment here on NTD News.
The wait is finally over. Shen Yun returns to the stage with an all-new production filled with beauty, majesty, and a powerful message of hope. Discover the lost culture of ancient China. Discover this season, Shen Yun 2021.
Coming to the Palace Theater, July 24th and 25th. Tickets at shenyun.com/Stanford, 888-90-SHOWS.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Navigating a world of economic madness, you need to have the right guide. What do today's decisions mean for your tomorrow? We ask why. What's the alternative? Uncover the deeper reasons and the hidden influences, and highlight the real opportunities for profit. At NTD Business, we connect the dots for you. Good evening. Thanks for joining us.
And Facebook, Twitter, and Google could stop offering their services in Hong Kong if the city proceeds with plans to change its privacy laws. That's what the Asia Internet Coalition, an industry group the tech giants belong to, is warning city officials.
Facebook, Google, and Twitter could stop offering their services in Hong Kong. The trio is said to be concerned over the city's proposed clampdown on doxing. That's where private information such as real names and addresses are revealed online without permission. New laws could make the tech giants liable for such content if posted by users on their platforms. Scholars are increasingly concerned about the diminishing rule of law in Hong Kong after Beijing imposed a national security law on the city a year ago.
It has brought the national security system of the mainland, the police state that it is, to Hong Kong, given the vagueness and ambiguity of the prescriptions in the law. They can charge almost anybody for anything.
Hong Kong reportedly proposed the legal changes following the 2019 protests there, when police officers were said to face doxing. An industry group representing the firms sent a letter to city officials. The letter says their staff could be at risk of severe sanctions. They're warning that the only way to avoid that would be to stop offering their services in the city.
Two renowned Chinese scientists violently attacked and hospitalized by an aerospace company's executive. Details are now released a month after the assault reportedly happened, right around the time China's Communist Party celebrated a milestone anniversary.
When the chairman of China's state-owned aerospace company and Communist Party Secretary Zhang Tao invited two distinguished scientists over for dinner, he expected them to give him a recommendation. It's needed to become a member of an international astronautics organization, but the two scientists declined his request because it was their first time meeting him. Zhang wasn't pleased. He soon became violent, kicking and pushing the two scientists. A Chinese state-owned media outlet posted the surveillance video online Saturday, capturing the attack. The footage shows Zhang kicking 55-year-old Wang Jinyan in the back and shoving 85-year-old Wu Meirong. Zhang also slapped one of his subordinates who tried to restrain him. Zhang even dragged Wang out of the elevator to continue beating him. He put Wang in a chokehold at one point, screaming, "I will be an academic, I have endless money, and I'm going to beat you to death." The incident happened a month ago, but wasn't public knowledge until Saturday. That's after the Communist Party had celebrated its 100th anniversary on Thursday. Over the past month, Zhang continued working as normal for his aerospace company, called China Aerospace Investment. The investment company currently manages over $34 billion in assets and was started by state-owned company China Aerospace Science and Technology. China Aerospace Science and Technology issued a statement on Sunday, saying the company would take the matter seriously and had suspended Zhang. The statement also claims Zhang consumed alcohol before the incident. According to reports, Wang suffered rib fractures and various other injuries, while Wu suffered spinal fractures and required surgery. For now, they're still recovering in the hospital. Both scientists are members of the International Academy of Astronautics, or IAA. Wu was awarded one of the highest honors in space science. She's one of just two Chinese researchers and the second woman to win the award. In his online company biography, Zhang is described as a Communist Party member and the holder of an unspecified doctoral degree. It says Zhang has mainly worked in management positions within the company. According to IAA, its membership base consists of individuals who have distinguished themselves in one of the fields of astronautics or one of the branches of science of fundamental importance for the exploration of space. As of now, no one without academic achievements or who isn't a technical expert in their field has been selected to join IAA.
More than 1,000 Japanese rescuers combed through crumbled houses and buried roads on Monday, 2 days after landslides tore through a seaside city. The rescuers are fighting time and poor weather to search for some 80 people believed missing. Brian Woods reports.
Rescuers in Japan on Monday searched for 80 people still missing, 2 days after landslides tore through the Japanese seaside city of Atami. Video footage captured by rescue teams showed an injured woman being carried to safety. One 75-year-old evacuee said the house across from his had been swept away, and the couple that lived there was missing. "This is hell," he said. Landslides over the weekend were triggered by torrential downpours, with some areas seeing more rain in one day than the whole of July. Around 130 buildings were affected by the disaster, and the official death toll stands at 3, according to Mayor Sake Sato. He added the number of missing had come down from over 100 earlier Monday morning. City officials have warned residents to remain vigilant, noting threats from soft ground and ongoing weather. The landslides are a reminder of the natural disasters that haunt Japan, where the capital of Tokyo is to host the Summer Olympics beginning this month.
And a factory explosion on the outskirts of Thailand's capital killed one rescue worker and wounded 29 other people. Thousands of people were being evacuated on Monday, and firefighters battled blazes for hours.
Authorities said residents who lived within a 3.1-mile radius of the factory owned by a Taiwanese company were being moved away as precaution. Local disaster authorities said 70 houses were damaged and fires were still being fought 9 hours after the explosion in the early hours of Monday. The cause of the blast had yet to be determined. The factory, which makes expandable polystyrene foam, is located about 3 miles from Bangkok's main international airport.
Coming up, U.S. and Ukrainian Navy troops have finished joint combat training and are starting sea drills tomorrow. This year's multinational maritime exercises may be adding to rising tensions between NATO and Russia. And Wimbledon has been given the green light to host full-capacity crowds starting tomorrow. This is the second week of the championships. Find out more here on NTD News.
With Shepherd Lock, you can unlock your door by touching the deadbolt. Shepherd also boosts your home's security by proactively freezing in place if anyone ever tries to tamper with your lock or break down your door. We also make it easy to manage keys without hiding them under the mat. Easily create temporary keys for house guests, neighbors, or anyone else. Installation takes less than 5 minutes. Visit shepherdlock.com to buy your Shepherd Lock today, and for a limited time, enjoy 10% off.
Get ready, world, for a whole new way to invest. Introducing the Unicorn Hunters.
We are talking about a cultural and economic shift.
A savvy group of investors whose only job is to provide an unvarnished assessment of who they think can become the next unicorn.
I am in and I'm going to invest. We all know why we're here. We're here to meet the next unicorn opportunity.
This could be a game changer for a lot of families.
Together with you, they're on the hunt for the next unicorn.
The U.S. and Ukraine are starting joint Navy drills in the Black Sea tomorrow. The drills are part of an annual multinational maritime exercise, but this year it is adding to the mounting tension between NATO and Russia.
Ukrainian and U.S. naval forces are going to start joint sea drills in Ukraine's southern port city of Odessa on Tuesday.
Until now, a stage of joint combat training took place. Now we move to the stage of active sea drills.
The combat training and drills are part of the Seabreeze 2021 military exercises, co-hosted by the U.S. and Ukraine. The annual multinational maritime exercise has provided an opportunity for Black Sea nations to train together with NATO allies and partners since 1997. This year's exercises take place amidst rising tensions between NATO and Moscow. In March and April, Russia deployed troops on the border with Ukraine, and some of them still remain there.
Well, we're operating in international waters. As far as the Russian Federation naval response, you'll have to ask the Russians. I can't respond to that. And we will continue to operate safely and professionally and interact with both our partner forces and any Russian Federation vessels professionally.
Seabreeze 2021 takes place from June 28th to July 10th, with 32 countries participating. Russia's embassy in Washington called for the drills to be canceled.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson sets out plans today for the final step in easing England's COVID-19 lockdown, including guidance on social distancing, face coverings, and working from home. NTD's Neil Woodrow asks Londoners how they feel about losing their face masks.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced on Monday that England will return to near normal for the first time since March 2020, as he set out plans to lift almost all remaining COVID restrictions. From July the 19th, all restrictions on social gatherings and mass events will end, and so will the legal requirement to wear a mask indoors. Pubs and bars will no longer have to serve customers sitting down, and nightclubs will be allowed to open their doors for the first time in 16 months. Capacity limits for theatres and cinemas will be lifted, and the government's advice for people to work from home will be dropped. The Prime Minister told a news conference,
"We must be honest with ourselves that if we can't reopen our society in the next few weeks, when we will be helped by the arrival of summer and by the school holidays, then we must ask ourselves, when will we be able to return to normal?"
Earlier, I asked Londoners how they feel about losing their face masks. This lady is not happy that the wearing of masks will be voluntary.
Because my mother hasn't been ill for 2 years, where she's always been a bit ill just through, I think, staying away from people and wearing a mask. She's 93 and usually she's quite ill.
This gentleman thinks if people feel comfortable, they should go ahead and not wear the mask. But he says it's not easy to know what the right way is.
I mean, it's a difficult one to answer because no one knows the full facts, do they? And that's the truth of it. On one side, the conspiracy theorists said it's all made up, and the medical people say it's a real problem. So somewhere through that, we've got to live our lives, haven't we?
This man says he feels relaxed about the voluntary mask wearing.
You know, from day one they were saying as soon as 60% of the population are vaccinated, then there shouldn't be a problem, and it's all about protecting the health service. So, you know, we're going to have to learn to live with it, aren't we? Basically.
And this gentleman says it's time to move on.
I'm happy. I think, you know, I think I've had enough of it now. Obviously, if I feel unsafe in a particular area, then I've got the option to wear it if I do feel like it. But I think we've all reached the stage where we just want to get rid of them now.
This lady has concern for her elderly parents.
I would rather they weren't voluntary, just because at the moment there's such a rise in cases. And you don't, even if you've had the jab, you're not immune. So personally, I'd rather not infect my elderly parents unknowingly.
Although the restrictions are changing, the Prime Minister says the pandemic is far from over. Neil Woodrow, NTD News.
Wimbledon has been given the green light to host full-capacity crowds from Tuesday, earlier than the previously agreed finals weekend. NTD's Joy Duguid has this report.
Wimbledon will have capacity crowds from Tuesday onwards as COVID-19 restrictions on attendance are relaxed, the All England Club announced on Sunday. Attendances have been capped at 50% since the start of the tournament last Monday. 100% capacity was not due to happen until next weekend's finals. But a successful opening week has seen the championships given early permission to operate at full capacity on the 15,000-person centre court and number 1 court. Wimbledon is being used as a pilot event for the safe return of crowds as part of the government's events research programme. It will mark the first time outdoor stadiums will be at full capacity at a sporting event in Britain since the pandemic shut down sports in March 2020. Joy Duguid, NTD News.
The pandemic has claimed nearly 4 million lives, but many questions remain about the origins of the virus. Museums across Europe are scouring their bat collections in search of clues. NTD's Anna Rodriguez has the story.
In London's Natural History Museum, curators are digitizing and cataloguing the museum's extensive collection of bat specimens. It's part of a Europe-wide project aiming to provide insight into the origins of COVID-19 and hopefully reduce the risk of future pandemics.
The hope is that all this information will help in some way to figure out where the next pandemic might break out.
The Natural History Museum's collection perhaps has 60,000 bat specimens, spanning back to the 1700s. It's thought bat specimens held in this collection represent a huge, often untapped resource.
They will have information related to specimens not just collected now, but many years in the past. And this way we can also use this data to model projections in the future and see how species are going to be affected by what we are doing in the environment.
Over a year after novel coronavirus was first identified in the Chinese city of Wuhan, questions still remain about the virus origins. In May, US President Joe Biden ordered intelligence officials to redouble their efforts to investigate the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, including any possibility the trail might lead to a Chinese laboratory. Bats are known to carry coronaviruses, and the closest relative of the virus that causes COVID-19 has been found in bats.
Certain viruses detected in bat populations have come close to be 96% similar to the COVID. And so there is a high chance that it is the bats that carry the virus, and then it sort of trickle down or transfer to other species.
9 major European collections are taking part in the project. The data will be made available to researchers around the world. Anna Rodriguez, NTD News.
The French Senate has voted to block a referendum about making the fight against climate change a part of the French Constitution. That's according to a statement it issued on Monday. French President Emmanuel Macron had promised to organize such a vote in response to criticism that he hasn't done enough to protect the planet. Right-wing lawmakers had expressed concerns that a state guarantee might become an obstacle to innovation and French business. A group of centrist senators linked to Macron's party said in a statement on Monday that the Senate's vote definitely closes the door on holding a referendum. And 4 people died in wildfires in Cyprus, and large areas of forests and orchards were destroyed. The country's president calls it an unprecedented tragedy. NTD's Joe Duguid brings us this report.
Huge wildfires swept through parts of Cyprus on Sunday. The blaze began Saturday afternoon in the south of the eastern Mediterranean island. It spread quickly amid strong winds and forced the evacuation of at least 8 mountain villages. The fire destroyed homes and scorched 21 square miles of pine forest and orchards. Search crews discovered 4 charred bodies. Authorities believe the bodies belong to 4 missing Egyptian labourers. President Nikos Anastasiades calls the fire an unprecedented tragedy.
Following the government's decisiveness, on Wednesday the first support measures for victims will be announced, and of course an in-depth study for further measures, so that we feel that we have responded to an unprecedented tragedy.
Police say a 67-year-old man faces arson charges. The blaze forced the Cypriot government to seek support from fellow European Union nations and Israel. A pair of helicopters from British military bases in Cyprus helped firefighting efforts. According to British Forces Cyprus Twitter, they flew for 16 hours and dropped 105 tons of water. Many volunteers also rushed to help fire crews. Joy Duguid, NTD News.
And that's all for today's news. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Stephanie Cox. have a new channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube at NTD News. Get the highlights of our news broadcast and the most important headlines that we curate especially for you.
Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.